Now, the deep state and the mainstream media, they are pushing their agenda to the extreme. Remember, this is all they have left. This is their Hail Mary. They are pushing as hard as they possibly can. They do not want Trump to open up the economy. We have to remember what the deep state, the central bank, really wanted. We were going to enter a war. They wanted the economic system to crash. They wanted the entire population to be in chaos. Worse than 2008, 2009, because there was going to be nothing left. The system was going to implode, not just here in the U.S., but worldwide. If you look at what Hillary Clinton, Obama, and all these individuals are saying, they want the United States to be shut down for 2, 3, 4, 5 months. What do you think would happen if the U.S. was shut down for that long? The entire system, not just here in the U.S., because remember, it's not just the U.S. shut down, it's worldwide. The entire central bank global system that we're under right now would implode. That would create chaos. That would destroy society as we know it. It's not just here in the U.S. This is what they've been looking for. Trump and the patriots, they know this. Why do you think Trump mentioned that he wants the U.S. to open? He understands that he's following a timeline. He understands that if this stays closed much longer, the entire thing is going to fall apart. But I do believe the patriots, they already have a plan. We already see the plan unfolding. Q has been telling us about the plan. And very interestingly today, Attorney General Bill Barr came out and released or unsealed an indictment against Maduro. And this included drug trafficking, and they also issued $1 million reward for Maduro and $10 million for other individuals. Now, this is very interesting. Why did they do this? Well, and Anon on the boards did a little research, looked at the companies and who was involved in all of this, and highlighted the important parts of this documentation. So let me read it. The federal targeting of Maduro and several other Venezuelan officials follows last year's U.S. government's threat to sanction any company that does business with his oil-rich country. Now, the Justice Department has already brought several multi-million-dollar corruption cases against senior Venezuelan government officials and politically connected businessmen with luxury homes and bank accounts in the United States. So, what are they talking about here? We are now seeing that these politically connected class of businesses with financial ties to Miami has grown fabulously wealthy from energy deals with the socialist government. And one of these individuals is Alejandro Betancourt. Now, when we look at this individual, Betancourt, co-founded a power company called Derwick Associates a decade ago that has reaped billions of dollars in government contracts for a string of new plants in Venezuela. Betancourt not only expanded his business into the United States, but also bought a penthouse apartment in Manhattan's Olympic Tower, along with a castle estate and other luxury properties in Spain. So then we look to see who he's been doing business with. Fusion GPS links to Derwick Associates. Well, who is Derwick Associates? We just mentioned it. This is Betancourt, who co-founded a power company called Derwick Associates. So Fusion GPS is associated with this. And Fusion GPS helped advocate the interest of corrupt Russian and Venezuelan officials while hiding its foreign work. All of this is connected. Now the question is, was this the first indictment which was unsealed? Because if we go back to post 3716, and I don't know if this is the first indictment that Q is talking about, but in this post, this was December 2019, it says, first indictment unsealed will trigger mass population awakening. Now, I'm sure everyone was shocked to hear this, and it's a very interesting time to go about announcing all of this during the global pandemic of coronavirus. And this, let me continue with the post. It says, first arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. It doesn't mean the unsealing of the indictment and the first arrest are the same thing. They will fight, but you are ready. Marker 9. And we'll have to see how that all plays out. But I thought it was a very interesting time period to announce this during what is going on. Now, think about it. A lot of people are home. A lot of people have not much to do. Yes, some people are working from home, but a lot of people might be paying attention to this right now. And maybe this is why they made the announcement. Now, very interestingly, we've been noticing there have been a lot of Hollywood actors, actresses, CEOs, royals, individuals in the Vatican. They're all coming down with coronavirus. And the latest is Jeff Shell from NBC Universal. He was appointed CEO, and he has tested positive for coronavirus. And what's very interesting about this whole thing, when coronavirus first came out, we had a British scientist his name was Neil Ferguson, and he came out with his projections, his predictions of how this is going to go. And by doing this, he created panic. He predicted that 2.2 million Americans and more than 500,000 Brits would be killed after both the US and UK governments effectively shut down their citizens and the economies. Now, what's very interesting about all this is that Ferguson is now walking back his doomsday scenario. He's now reporting that, well, maybe these predictions are not true. Now he's saying maybe less than 20,000 people, or even less than that, might die. Now that's a very, very big difference. And once again, we have to remember, these are all estimates. These aren't real figures. And this created panic around the world. And who else is panicking? We have Hillary Clinton. She tweeted out the following: before sending anyone back to their jobs, at Real Donald Trump, you should try doing yours. She also said that businesses, the economy, should be kept closed for 2 months. We also have Obama. He tweeted out, here's a useful overview of the likely scenarios that the world will be facing in the coming months while managing this pandemic. So much depends on our ability to make good decisions going forward, along with our ability to remain resilient. Then he gave a picture, and it's an upside-down White House. It looks like the coronavirus, and someone with a needle, which is an injection. Now, what's very interesting is if you flip this around, it's actually Q. So is Obama and Clinton, are they sending messages? And are other Hollywood actors, actresses, corrupt politicians, you name it, have they been sending messages? I do believe so. And Rosie's Lamestream Media tweeted out the following: this all happened today over the course of about 12 hours. Oprah tweeted the storm. Chelsea tweeted Pizzagate. Obama tweeted what is clearly a Q. If you're a skeptic, you have to admit this is odd. If you follow QAnon, you know how amazing this really is. Now, it is kind of odd that they're all talking about the same thing, and they're all sending out messages. Is this panic? Maybe. Now, yesterday, we showed the Twitter header page of General Michael Flynn, and it was a yellow sky, and in the background there were buildings. Now, yellow sky means a storm is coming. Scientists have looked at yellow skies, and they've come to the conclusion that a lot of times the yellow sky means a storm is coming. But if you look at the background, you can see some buildings there. And someone pointed out that this looks like the St. George School. And when you look at it, it looks like it has the same exact buildings. Now, what's very interesting about this school is that back in the 70s and 80s, St. George School, this was the elite Rhode Island prep school, well, they were caught for sexual exploitation of students. 61 alumni gave investigators first-hand accounts of the abuse they say they suffered, with 51 saying the abusers were faculty or staff, and an additional 10 reporting abuse by classmates. 2 staff members abused at least one student every year they worked at St. George's. Now, it seems that Flynn sent out 2 messages talking about sexual exploitation and that the storm is coming. Now, something very interesting. There was a reporter talking about the Vatican and Italy, and it seemed that she kind of messed up when she was speaking. She was talking about the people that are infected, but she substituted the word arrest instead. So listen carefully to what she said.
He's also saying we're not out of the woods yet, reminding everyone to take the lockdown seriously. Experts finding 8,000 people in just the past week, reminding them that now is the time to act.
Now, I find this very odd that she said 8,000 arrests, I mean found in just last week. So how did arrests get in there? Why was she even thinking about arrests? And 8,000 arrests? It seems kind of odd. And we know that we're heading towards some type of operation. We're looking at all the indicators. We're looking at what's been happening. And everything is starting to fit together. Now, does this mean it's going to happen? No, we're interpreting everything from the plan that Q laid out, looking at what's happening today and trying to put all the pieces together. And what's very interesting is that Eric Trump tweeted out the following. NBC, CNN, and others say they will likely stop broadcasting at real Donald Trump virus briefings. He said this is truly sick in the time of national emergency and once again tells you everything you need to know about the mainstream media. Now, remember, we talked about how Q has been telling us that when they stop broadcasting Trump's messages, when they kill social media, Trump might have to use the emergency broadcast system or the emergency alert system, which makes me think that we're getting closer and closer to this point because they don't want to cover what Trump is covering. They're saying that he's lying, he's giving misinformation, it's not going the way they want it to go, because Trump and the Patriots, they're not listening to the mainstream media. They're not listening to the deep state plans. They had other plans. Now, Q decided to come online once again, started to put out some bread. So let's read the first post. This is post 3899. Gives us a Twitter link to Education for Libs. And there's a video attached to this. Now, here's the first 30 seconds. If you want to hear the rest, you can go to Educating Liberals. You can go to the YouTube channel or Twitter, Educating Liberals. This video was made by Payne's Angels, and Educating Liberals decided to put it on his Twitter feed because they thought it was very, very important. And it is actually a very good video. So here's the first 30 seconds of it so you get an idea of what Q is talking about.
Although this virus may be very real, the panic that is being created is completely unwarranted. Crashing the market, frightening the citizens, and stressing out the population, all because a bunch of sadistic assholes want Trump out of office before he exposes their crimes. Somehow, they even managed to create a shortage on toilet paper products when there's not even one intestinal.
So below in this post, Q says once again, the silent war continues. Now, Q has... He's made this statement before, and remember, there were dots after the silent war continues. We started off with 5 periods, and this was post 3825. This was February 5th. Then on February 6th, post 3837, we still have 5 periods. Then on February 8th, post 3843, we went down to 4 periods. Then on February 12th, post 3856, we went down to 3 periods. February 25th, which was post 3883, we went down to 2 periods. And then here we are, March 26, post 3899. We are at 2 periods. So when you look at this, it looks like Q is counting down to something. Now, these are not seconds. This is Q's own countdown. And it looks like we are now at 2 periods. So I'm assuming when Q posts again, we might get 1 period and then boom, something happens. Let's move on to post 3900. Now, Q gives us a picture of the Department of Justice. This file is 90.jpg. Now, we'll talk about 90 in just a minute. But Q also gives us a link to the New York Times. And this is President's Proclamation, the habeas corpus suspended throughout the United States in certain specified cases. Let me read this article here. Whereas the Constitution of the United States has ordained that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall now be suspended unless, when in case of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it, and whereas a rebellion was existing on the 3rd day of March 1863, which rebellion is still existing, and whereas by a statute which was approved on that day, it was enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States, in Congress assembled, that during the present insurrection, the President of the United States, whenever in his judgment the public safety may require, is authorized to suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus in any case throughout the United States or any part thereof. And whereas in the judgment of the President, the public safety does require that the privilege of the said writ shall now be suspended throughout the United States in cases where, by the authority of the President of the United States, military, naval, and civil officers of the United States, or any of them, hold persons under their command or in their custody, either as prisoners of war, spies or aiders or abettors of the enemy, or officers, soldiers, or seamen enrolled, drafted or mustered, or enlisted in or belonging to the land of naval forces of the United States, or as deserters therefrom, or otherwise amenable to military law, or to the rules and articles of war, or the rules and regulations prescribed for the military or naval services by the authority of the President of the United States, or for resisting a draft, for any other offense against the military or naval service. Now therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, do hereby proclaim and make known to all whom it may concern that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended throughout the United States in the several cases before mentioned, and that this suspension will continue throughout the duration of the said rebellion. So, Abraham Lincoln, he did this. Now, I do believe that Q is putting this out there, letting us know that we might be in the same exact situation where Trump might have to go ahead and suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. And then down below gives us everything in the uscodehouse.gov, and this is about treason, misprision of treason, rebellion or insurrection, sedition, conspiracy, advocating overthrow of government, registration of certain organizations, activities affecting armed forces generally, activities affecting armed forces during war, recruiting for service against the United States, enlisting to serve against the United States. From this, what I am getting is that Q is letting us know when we get to a certain point, these individuals who have committed treason, sedition, who acted against the United States, this might happen. Now, it seems that Department of Justice might have put out feelers and started the narrative. Remember when the mainstream media was out there and there was an uproar over the request for emergency powers during coronavirus? And Kerry Kupik had to come out and explain that we weren't giving power to the executive branch. We're actually giving power to the judges to make this decision, that if they needed to, they could hold people without trying them right now because of the situation that we're in. I think this was the beginning stages of this. And what's very interesting, and this is what Joe M. tweeted out, is the following. You are witnessing the largest mass treason event in history. Lincoln set precedent to suspend habeas corpus and procedure that keeps the government from holding detainees indefinitely without cause. Since the below crimes are in progress, Trump will have no choice but to do same. And I completely agree with him. Now, if we go back to the picture, which is a very strange name for this JPEG, it's 90. So let's go to post 90, which I think is very interesting. This was back in November 5th, 2017. And Anon says, okay, well, we just need Q to come back and confirm now. They were talking about Hillary Clinton, Seth Rich, who killed Seth Rich, and they were asking the questions, did Hillary have Seth Rich killed? Q came back and said, confirmed, classified, double brackets around HRC. So what happened? Well, we've been talking about this for quite a while. Seth Rich was an intern, and there's a lot of evidence that supports that the data that was taken from the DNC servers was not a cyber attack or a hacking into. We had Bill Binney and many others, and even Q came out and said, this is not the way it happened. We actually have reports from Assange that he spoke to Seth Rich, and there is evidence that shows that a thumbnail drive was used to download the information. So Seth Rich was murdered. Now, of course, the police came out and said it was a mugging, but they didn't take anything. It was it was a robbery, but they didn't take anything. Q is saying that 2 MS-13 gang members were found murdered in a car the same day after Seth Rich's murder. Now, remember, the deep state uses the MS-13 gangs, the cartel, as their army to do certain jobs, and then they get rid of them afterwards. And Q is saying that this is confirmed, it's classified, and the proof of the connection is classified and unavailable to the public. So is Q letting us know this is where they are headed, where they're going to go ahead and they're going to suspend habeas corpus and they're going to arrest individuals. It's starting to look that way. Let me continue with this. So then we go to post 3901. Q once again gives us the American flag. And this is a post from February 21st, 2018. And it says, Patriot, a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her own country and its interests with devotion. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights, against presumed interference by the federal government. A traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Now, I think Q is repeating this, letting us know that these individuals that they're going to be arresting, they are traitors. They betrayed his or her country. Let's move on to post 3902. Q gives us an old post from January 8th, 2018. This is post 513, and it says, no private comms, past, present, future, no comms made outside of this platform. Now there's this individual, Austin Steinbart. He's going around and he's saying that he's Q. He's completely fake. He has no information. This is a shill. This is to divide the movement. He should be ignored. It's a waste of time. He's an IT guy that he decided to come on the scene. Who knows who's paying him? And he's trying to make it seem like, oh, he is Q. And he even had a post saying, oh, look, one of the titles was changed. Well, those titles on the boards where you see the Q post numbers and things like that, Q doesn't put those titles up there. On the 8kun board, those titles don't exist. It's the administrator of QMAP who reads over the post and decides to put a title on it. This has nothing to do with Q. Now, apparently, he didn't realize that and he got caught in it. So he's completely fake, phony, and false. Let's move on to post 3903. And Q is, by the way, letting us know that there are no private comms anywhere besides 8kun. That's where Q posts. All the other boards you see, which is QAnon.pub, QMAP, those are taking the posts from Q and putting it on their own site. Some of them are being numbered, so it's easier to track. And the titles that are being put on top are by other people. So don't get confused. If you want to see the original, go to 8kun. That's where you'll see the original posts. So let's move on to post 3903. Q just puts up infiltration, and this is in bold and brackets, infiltration instead of invasion. Now, what's very interesting, this is from John F. Kennedy. This is at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, New York City, April 27th, 1961. He was reciting a speech, and he said the following: For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned. No rumor is printed. No secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security, and the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attacks as well as outright invasion. And this is exactly what has been going on here in the U.S. It's not an army that is invading the U.S. They've done it from the inside. It was the 16-year war. They infiltrated every part of the government. And they were able to work through the system to destroy it. Trump at the Patriots, they're reversing this. This is why it's called draining the swamp. This is why they have to make mass arrests all at the same time. I do believe that everything is being staged at this point. There's an operation going on. Trump mentioned this woman in Honduras. Flynn is putting out a different header letting us know that a storm is coming and something about sexually abused children. We have strange messages going on with the Hollywood elite, the corrupt politicians who were once in power. They want the economic system shut down for a very long period of time. And then Q comes out and tells us that the president might have to authorize and suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus because of special circumstances. And then Q lets us know the difference between a patriot and a traitor. There are no coincidences. This was done on purpose to let us all know. And Q and the patriots, they've been giving us a plan. And this plan is now playing out. And remember, we have to remember something very important, and it was in a post, and this was post 1146. And in this post, what it says is the following: the date versus actual, letting us know that some of these dates that these posts were made might not be the actual date, that this post might refer to a time period that could be in the future. And as we get closer to April and as we move on, we're going to go through this story and explain what is happening, because there's a lot coming up. And I don't believe this is all a coincidence. I do believe the Patriots are in control and the deep state is panicking because Trump and the Patriots, they're not following what they want to. Remember, when they came up with this event, they thought they were going to be in control of the situation. They thought they had the people in place. They thought they had the people in place to keep the system locked down long enough to implode the entire system, to make Trump very, very weak. But the opposite is happening right now. And there's messages that are going back and forth. They're panicking. There is panic in D.C. Patriots are in full control.